This is Kelsey on behalf of Shaw Media. I'm here with my friend Dan Kenney. He is in charge of all things DeKalb County Community Gardens. So thank you so much for being here with us today, Dan. We appreciate your time. We know you're really busy out there delivering food to the masses, so we appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to share the work that's getting done and the need that's out there. So thank you for the opportunity.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, that sort of goes right into my first question, which is, I know that we've seen a huge influx in just the amount of need in our community in DeKalb County. Can you talk a little about how many mobile pop-ups you guys are doing nowadays and how that sort of compares to the quote-unquote normal times?
Sure. Normally we would do one pop-up a week, sometimes two, but right now we're averaging 3 to 4 pop-ups a week. The pop-up is what we call our mobile pantry. We have a 14-foot distribute the food, and we have seen about a 500% increase in need since the shutdown on March 21st. And so we have tried to respond to that by increasing the number of mobile pantries that we hold.
500% increase. That's hugely significant. I mean, how did you guys even begin to accommodate that volunteer-wise?
Well, we had a really good support from the community. We have a volunteer button on our website, DeKalbGardens.org, and people can go there and sign up. And we have the set times when we have. The other change, of course, has been the need to pre-pack boxes. So that's where we use 4 volunteers on the day before the distribution to pack boxes. 1 volunteer in the morning for a couple hours on that day as well. So if they go to our website and sign up to be a volunteer for the Grow Mobile on our website, then they will receive a link where they can sign up on a website for volunteering with us. So that's one way we were able to ramp up. The other way was we also have just hired a new coordinator for the Grow Mobile, and he was an intern with us from NIU last summer, and he's graduating this May, and so he will be working with us full-time as well. We had to reassign one of our other full-time employees to be the warehouse coordinator and handling all the food packs and getting them ready for distribution and things like that. So we've had to switch some people around, increase hours for some people, and things like that. We also have the Genoa community.
Oh, that's right. And that just opened this spring.
Yes, in January it opened, yes.
January,
and okay. So we have been distributing food there as well, of course. And they've seen also a tripling in the number of people using the food pantry, or using the food pantry portion of the hub.
Wow, so, you know, increase in need, increase in staffing. Where do you get all of this food from?
Right now, during this time of the year, we get it from the Northern Illinois Food Bank. And so we're an agency of the food bank, and that's where we're able to get shelf-stable food as well as produce. We also get it through direct connects, they call it, where you go to the back of a grocery store and get produce that's been taken off the shelf and is not going to be sold. And so then we reclaim that and reuse that as part of our distribution. We also are starting to get some produce from our gardens now. So we've been able to take fresh asparagus to a couple of our locations, and we took fresh rhubarb yesterday morning to our distribution in Sycamore. We also had a donation of plants from Kishwaukee College Horticulture Program. So we were able to distribute tomato plants and pepper plants and other things like that for people that are doing their own gardening. We've seen a big increase in interest in gardening since this has happened too. More people are concerned about where their food's coming from and being able to have food security. And so one of the best ways to have food security is to grow as much of your own food as you can. And so those who are able have been renting some of our garden plots that we have available for rent at Dresser Gardens in DeKalb, Genoa Gardens up in Genoa, and we have some. Well, we're sold out of garden plots in Sycamore. That's all filled up for this year already. And so there's a real interest in trying to grow their own food. We also have a partnership with Klein's Produce in Burlington, and we're going to be getting a lot of produce from them.
Wow.
One of the things that's changed about where we're getting the food to is there's a new program that the federal government started with the USDA called CFAP. I'm sorry, I don't know what the acronym stands
Okay.
for, but it's a new program where they're trying to capture some of the food that people have maybe seen being destroyed on television, milk being dumped, things like that were going on because of the
Sure.
plants being closed down, processing plants and so on. So what they've set up this new program where they're paying the farmers, the growers to provide the vegetables and produce of different types to food pantries and food banks around the United States. So we're starting that program this week.
And that reminds me of something else too, which is what about the plots that you guys have in partnership with area school districts? I know like DeKalb did a presentation in a recent school board meeting. I think it was right before all this sort of hit the fan, and the idea was to ramp up that program. And so, are those plots being used now by like individual people, or how does that work?
Well, we're just kind of getting off the ground with that because we, at first, the school districts didn't want anybody using the gardens be on the property because of the social distancing. But our garden coordinator, Joey Moore, came up with a policy and a plan for how it could be done safely. And so we're moving forward with that plan with the DeKalb School Gardens. So she's been out there getting the gardens ready, and work will be beginning soon.
Oh, good. And I know a lot of the process that you guys do for packaging. I know that's something that you mentioned earlier, delivering. That's sort of been changed a little bit based on safety protocol and all of that stuff. Can you just walk us through a little bit of like, from farm to table, from warehouse to family? How does that look?
Sure. Well, for example, I'll use tomorrow morning as an example. We're getting a large semi-load of food from the food bank. The food bank is located in Geneva, and it'll come on a semi-truck and on skids, and we'll get probably about 20 or more pallets. We've ordered 38,000 pounds of food. And so then we use our pallet jack that we were able to get from we're using grant money that we got from the COVID-19 response, so that we didn't have to move it all by hand from the truck. And so now we can use a pallet jack. We'll bring it into the warehouse. Our warehouse too, by the way, is provided for us free of charge by Northern Illinois University. That was a program that we started in November, a partnership started in November. Part of that, it used to be the DeKalb Ag building where the original DeKalb Ag Seed Corn was started. And so there's a room in there that has refrigeration already because that's where they kept their test seeds. And so we're able to use that refrigerated room. So that gives us a lot more storage space for perishable product. And then we stock the shelves in the warehouse, and well as fill the refrigerators and things. And then then we set up a sort of an assembly line using a group of tables, and then we fill the boxes along with the volunteers in an assembly line fashion. Then we load them on the truck, and then we drive them out to the locations. This week we'll be going to University Village on Tuesday in the afternoon from 4 to 6, Westminster Church on Thursday, Suburban Apartments on Wednesday, and also we'll be going to Clinton Rosette Middle School on Saturday. So those are our 4 distributions just for this week as an example. And so our pack times with the volunteers is usually 2 to 4 in the afternoon. And our distribution times normally are 4 to 6, except for Westminster, which is 11 to 1. The way it works with the produce and the farm to pantry program is that we put in an order with Klein's Produce, and then he lets us know when it's ready for us to pick up. And we take the grow mobile out there and pick up the product, bring it back to the warehouse, and aggregate it, you call it, and then you put it in different categories for the go out to the different food banks or food pantries in DeKalb County. So we're just getting that program off the ground for this year.
Wow, wow. And are you seeing any particular municipality or space in the county that has a greater need than others? I mean, what are you seeing?
Well, it's pretty much uniform all across all the communities. We saw a large increase in Sandwich in particular, I would say. The first time we went down there after the shutdown, we were expecting some increase, so we usually served about 50 families, so we packed 75 boxes, and there ended up being over 100 families being there. So that's the only time we didn't have enough. At Westminster on North Annie Glidden Road, Westminster Presbyterian Church, we had 193 families, households, and we packed 200 boxes, so we just made it. So usually now that we've into it a little bit, we've seen about a like I said, a tripling of increase just about everywhere.
That's crazy. What are people saying? I mean, are you hearing that it's because they've lost their jobs, or what are you hearing?
Yes, many people will say that this is the first time they've ever had to do anything like this. They appreciate the support, and many of them, I think, are newly unemployed, yes.
And I know that, you know, I remember us talking about this maybe a month or so ago. You mentioned that you guys have delivered to some families that have members that have been diagnosed with COVID-19. You know, obviously the number of cases has risen since that time, and there have been recoveries as well. I think today's count is 263 total, but 97 as of Friday have recovered. Can you talk a little about, you know, maybe how many people you have delivered to that do have it, or how does that process work? Are they reaching out to you? What are you seeing?
Well, sometimes we get referrals from people in the community who might know the family that's been diagnosed, or sometimes the referral comes in the health department. We get referrals from Elder Care Services and from Voluntary Action Center. So we don't always know when a family has been diagnosed, but I do know that we have delivered to 2 families that have struggling with the COVID virus. So the way that works is I deliver it to either their doorway, or I deliver it to the outside of their door, and through phone conversation, we let them know when it's there and when they can come out and pick it up off the step. So there's no interaction with the actual individuals. And also, of course, we don't know their names most of the time, so there's no violation of privacy or anything like that.
Sure.
And I should say too, for people who want to know about volunteering, is that we can provide face masks if they don't have their own. We provide gloves. We sanitize everything, the tables and everything that they come in contact with. And we're very careful. We only have 4 volunteers at a time in the warehouse so that we keep everything as safe as we can. And so when I deliver to somebody's door like that, of course, too, I wear a face mask and gloves. And as I said, I don't have any direct interaction.
That's good. Are you ever at any point, like, you know, I'm sort of a optimistic pessimist by nature, you know, are you ever at any point during the day, during the week of deliveries, seeing what's happening, you know, being like, oh my God, we're going to run out of food. How do we serve these people? What if the unemployment numbers keep growing? I mean, how do you sort of reconcile that with just, you know, keeping the work that you're doing?
Well, I guess I approach it with a sense of love for what I'm doing and being able to do. And we've had a great outpouring of support from the community, both in terms of volunteers, financial support. Many organizations, foundations have been very supportive. The COVID-19 response fund that was set up right away through the Community Foundation and other foundations working together to make that available has alleviated the financial stress, I guess you would say, with trying to meet the excessive need that's come about. When I first started to see the responses, and still today, Like this past week when we were at Westminster and we saw 3 rows of cars waiting to get food. You always wonder if you're going to have enough. Yes, and you're always kind of worried about that. But I guess that I feel that because we're in such a very supportive community as DeKalb County has been, very generous and compassionate people, I feel that I don't feel like I'm in this alone. I feel like I'm in this with everybody else. And with all that support, it really makes a difference in remaining optimistic.
I love that. I love that. And I think you're totally right. We're a part of this community that's just incredibly generous. And I think that's sort of what keeps everybody going in these moments of crisis, is that you really can sort of grasp onto the good things, and people come together in extraordinary ways. So, Give DeKalb County just happened, and in total, as I'm sure you know, they've raised over $1 million, which blew last year's target out of the water, this year's target out of the water. DeKalb County Community Gardens was the beneficiary of more funds than any of the other organizations. What does that feel like?
Well, it's very humbling, and it's very inspiring at the same time that there's so many people who care so much about their neighbors in that way, and that they have confidence in our organization to get out there and put the money to good work, to good use, and trying to meet that need.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I feel very humbled and appreciative at the same time.
Good, good. It's inspiring to see as well. So keep it up.
Yes.
So I know, we've talked a lot before, Dan, and I'm thinking about, I remember, I think it was when we were at the farm earlier this year, and I asked you, like, what inspired you to do this, and we had a conversation about, the importance of food supply, and obviously there's so much happening now with the economy, and you mentioned earlier a lot of food waste that you guys are trying to use. The idea that more people are gardening. I myself definitely am trying to garden a little bit more. We'll see what actually grows. But
Good.
Has this at all solidified or changed your idea of like the importance of a food supply change, or what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think that the COVID-19 situation, the pandemic, has raised a lot of red flags for everyone to see about our food system. I think that when you're dependent on food that travels 1,500 miles before it gets to you, you're dependent. There's so many links in that chain that could break. And when one of those links breaks, it slows down or stops the entire process of the food getting to the people. And so I think the more that we can continue to focus on what we can do locally, with our local growers and with our own homes and our own yards and our own gardens that are accessible to us, the better. And I think a lot of people are starting to see that it's better for our diet, it's better for our health, and it's better for our economy, and it's just better, more secure in the long run. And I think the COVID-19 pandemic has just reinforced that way of thinking for me, and has validated a lot of my concerns, and I'm hopeful that we can learn from it and take what we can learn from it and put it to good use in the future.
Absolutely. And, one more question, which is, and I sort of have fun asking all of my sources this, I think, again, when we're in these moments, it's really easy to get negative and look at the headlines and, be just in a place of despair. We talk a lot about frontline workers. You guys are out, doing work daily as well. So, we want to thank you for that and the sacrifice that you guys make too, being out in the public and going to all of these houses. A lot of times we hear from people that they sort of have strength given to them by little nuggets or moments, interactions with people or little positive moments. Is there anything that comes to mind that you've experienced recently, whether it's delivering something or anything that you want to share?
Well, it's just, I've been touched many times by so many people saying, God bless you, and I don't know what I would do without this, and thank you so much. And people reaching out for the first time and coming to the Grow-mobile and saying, I've never done this before, with tears in their eyes and saying, how do I do this, you know? And people with children in the car that are so grateful, and the kids are all so excited when they see the box of food come into the car and things like that. So not one specific incident that I would, or experience, but I would like to say it just in summary, it's all been very humbling and very inspiring to see. It makes me think about the human spirit and how strong it is. And I think we get that strength from each other. And when people are coming together to volunteer and share their time and their energy in that way, it really means a lot to the people that are in line coming through to get the food. And we all just kind of encourage and support and give strength to each other.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Well, final question. What do you need from us? Do you need volunteers? What do you need? You know, more people to share the news? What do you need? How can we help you?
We're always looking for volunteers, so that like I said, if they go to our website, DeKalbGardens.org, and we also have a Facebook page. But for volunteering, they'd have to go to our website, DeKalbGardens.org, and there's a volunteer button where they can sign up. They can also follow us on Facebook and spread the word about when we're going to be somewhere, so that anybody who's in need of food can know about it and be able to get there if they need it. If they can't get there, if they know of somebody who's in need and they're not able to get out of their home, they can contact Elder Care Services, or they can contact Voluntary Action Center, or reach out to us directly through our website or through our Facebook page, and we'll make sure that they get a home delivery if they need it. The other thing, I guess, right now at the moment, we're looking for egg cartons, because we get 15 dozen of eggs in a big case, and we have to divide it up into egg cartons so that we can distribute it. And so we put out the call for that the other day, and our egg cartons are already coming in. So
like a dozen, or what are you looking for? Like ones that hold a dozen eggs, or half dozen?
Yeah, ones that hold a dozen eggs. Yeah.
Great,
yeah.
Great. We can help with that.
Great.
All right. Well, thank you so much, truly, for your time,
sure.
Dan. I know it's precious, and I just want to say thank you again for all the work you and your team are doing. I know it's vital, so keep it up and stay safe and healthy.
Thank you, Kelsey. You too. Take care.
Thank you. Take care.